Committee will now come to order. Are there any members of the public wishing to speak on topics not on today's agenda? Seeing none, let us go to that very first item, Mr. Samario.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Bob Samario, Acting Assistant City Administrator and Finance Director. So later today, we'll be presenting to the City Council the recommended budget for 2016 and 17. It's a 2-year plan. And we have a series of public meetings and hearings that we are going to schedule with Council. They're going to hopefully approve that schedule today. But as you know, the Finance Committee is charged with reviewing certain parts of the budget in more detail. And so today what we wanted to do is give you what that proposed schedule of topics are or is, and then ask your input as to whether there's anything else you want to talk about beyond what's listed here. And you'll see the schedule in front of you, so we'll just go through it real quickly. This is pretty typical of what we see every year and what we bring to you every year. So next week will be the first of the presentations. Then we'll go over the non-departmental revenues, essentially tax revenues, in a fair amount of detail, more so than you've seen in the past. So you can see what our assumptions are for the next couple of years. We'll also bring you the multi-year forecast, which you've seen before, but we wanted to give you an updated version and kind of talk about it in the context of how it ties to our reserves or affects our reserves projections over the next few years. I think it's an important topic. And then we will, unrelated to the budget, we are going to get into investment report. And then on May 5th, we're going to get into proposed fee changes for 16. Yes, and that's true. We have added to the Finance Committee agenda for next Tuesday the ARF discussion as Council directed. So then on May 5th, we'll be looking at proposed fee changes, a couple of non-budget items, and then on the May 12th, looking at enterprise fund proposed fee changes. And then at that point, we're sort of wrapped up with the topics, and we have 19th reserved for any follow-up topics that you might want to cover. We'll present any staff recommended adjustments we might have between the filing of the budget and the May 19th. And then we'll look for some recommendations and decisions from the committee to bring to Council later on. So that's kind of what's on the list of topics, and just wanted to turn it over to you. In terms of topics that you might want to add to that. Okay. I will mention that one of the things that we will want to get also your direction is we have received this year a fair number of requests from external organizations, organizations we currently fund and some we don't. In years past, before the recession, when we had this was a regular thing we would get every year, and we had a process for that where we would bring those to the Finance Committee, and then they would make recommendations to Council on which ones we might want to fund or not fund. So we just wanted to see if you had an interest in that.
What sort of organizations?
Some of the community promotions groups that we fund. I know, for example, Casa Esperanza is asking for a continued funding. So those kinds of organizations. Alternatively, we can bring those organizations and those requests to Council in June when they start deliberating after all the departments have presented their budgets, and you can see the context of the whole budget. So just wanted to see if you had an interest in looking at those first and making a recommendation to Council, or just rather have them go direct to Council.
I think if we had an introduction, my feeling anyway, if we had an introduction that really focused on the finances of whatever the request was, so that we, the Finance Committee, had a better idea of the detail there before it goes to Council for the policy decision, I think that would be worthwhile.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, good. All right, so at this point, I'll just see if there's an interest in any other topics that you might want to have presented to you between now and end of May.
Committee members?
So just to be clear, we're not going to run the individual departments through the Finance Committee?
No.
Got it. Okay.
Mr. White?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd appreciate hearing an update on our pensions. It seems to me we may have had a substantial amount of new retirees last year, and so just to see how that's affecting the city's finances, and so how many people did retire, and what kind of money is going out for pensions, and how that happened last year, and of course then an overall sense of how the fund is doing and how our pension plan is doing.
Okay.
Mr. White, I agree. That's an important topic. And if we had information, whatever the latest CalPERS projections of the employer share,
sure,
the total unfunded liability, all that sort of thing, that'd be useful.
Absolutely.
Mr. Hart? Don't tamper with perfection. Okay. I think that's it in terms of suggestions.
Okay, good.
We're easy to please.
Absolutely. So we'll be here next week to talk about
Okay.
the topics on the list.
Very good. Anything else, Mr. Samario?
That's it.
Okay, very
Thank
good.
you.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.